This is very important in the information I'm sharing because the people I'm sharing it to. So this second one is what? Okay.
We have
Have you seen the room there?
express which confirm. Please help me shut down the
Climate.org.
final confirmation for the off.
Please stand the water. Or you take it out. Or you take it out. So you stand it to take it out.
Are you standing down?
No, you cannot stand. You have to do it like this.
Take it out.
Okay, let's stand it down now.
They have to remove the cups.
No, the cup is branded. What's that echo?
No one is from the live stream. Take your final position. Check your name.
Stop me, then
Mr. Chooks, prepare for takeoff.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. The live stream, I'm not seeing anything.
Your show is live.
It's live, okay.
Are you there? Are you seeing yourself?
No, I can't.
Okay. Let me change that.
I think you let me see how it looks.
Have you seen yourself? Check. That's the second one. You're there, right? You'll see yourself. Okay, it's live. Once you pick up with the advances,
Okay.
you shifted back to the background. So,
Okay.
verify your okay.
Thank you. Okay. Testing, okay. Phones on silent, please. What media is that? What media is that? Okay. Faith, have you done it?
Please be on standby for another 2 minutes. Please 2 minutes to 1 minute to just set up.
Shut down.
Please, you can take your CU shots if you wish.
Do I need microphone?
Yes, you need.
please, the light, confirm that his light is not blasting on the back wall, please, camera guys. Want a clear picture. You know you've seen it, have you?
After TV, confirm you're ready for takeoff.
We have to start now, please. We have to start.
Take final positioning. All stations take final positioning. Okay. Online, confirm you're ready. Mr. Troops, confirm you're ready.
We're ready.
Stations, confirm you're ready. Ready. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, gentlemen of the press. My name is Chuks Anyagaba. I'm the founder of International Initiative for Advancement of Sdgs in Africa. I am the Director of Projects and Partnerships for Climate Clock Nigeria. We represent advocacies for climate clock in Nigeria. And let me introduce my panelists or members of my high table, like I call them, starting from my extreme right. We have Mr. Olumide Idowu, aka Mr. Climate. He's the founder of ICCDI. And we have Princess Onochie, who's in charge of admin for Climate Club Nigeria. My immediate left, we have our celebrity, actor, Sustainable Development Goals Ambassador in Nigeria under the office of OSAP Sdgs. Nobody else but Mr. Uzi Usman. And then to my extreme left, we have Mr. Akoje, who is the founder and CEO of SDG Radio. Welcome, everyone. So this is going to be very swift and well detailed. First of all, before we start talking about the Climate Club, let me give us a foundation about climate change. Several years ago, precisely in 2015, the United Nations launched the Sustainable Development Goal known as the SDGs. And the goals are 17 in number. They are goals that ought to be met with a deadline of 2030. The idea is that by 2030, we should have achieved those goals. And they range from poverty, good health and well-being, education, sustainable cities and societies, partnerships, peace, justice, and then climate change, which is goal 13. And that is why we are here today. The message is simple. Everyone needs to act to have a sustainable environment, to have a sustainable climate to live in, so that generations yet unborn will still find a world to live in. We should not utilize all the facilities and all the environmental assets that we have. So that is the essence of climate change advocacy. So Climate Clock, as you can see here, is a tool, is an advocacy tool that Climate Clock World, has created. We have the big monuments, in New York City, where it was launched in 2020, and since then it has gained massive traction and has trended globally as an advocacy tool for climate change. So if you look at the clock counts down from 7 years down. It shows the number of years we have to act in time to avert the worst climate action that can happen to mankind. So that is in a nutshell what climate clock is all about. And you can see lifelines and renewable energy lifelines already written there. And let me say this, that this clock counts down in real time. To have the climate clock in Seoul, Japan, we have it in UK, Glasgow, we have it in Accra, we have it in Kigali, we have it across the world, and they are all counting down real time, showing 7 years down. So today, Climate Clock is marking Climate Emergency Day, which we refer to as our Climate Emergency Day, July 22nd. So these days simply is calling for a global action, for a deadline for us to mark as a deadline to reach 1.50 degrees centigrade of global warming, ticking below 7 years down. So the countdown officially starts today from 7 years down for us to act to avert the worst climate action that can happen to humanity. So this clock is going to be an advocacy tool, and the essence of this press conference is to speak to world leaders, African leaders, individuals, community leaders, the local persons, everyone, you and I, saying that it is time to act now, and not just to act now, to act in time to avert the worst climate actions that can happen. So you might ask, how do I act? What do I do? There are various initiatives and objectives of climate change that we have been talking about. We've talked about plastic pollution. We've talked about emission of gas. We've talked about alternative energy. So you can play your own part to create an awareness on climate change in your environment. Right, so today my wonderful panelists, a few of us are going to say a few things about it, but the message is clear. The time now is to act. The time to act is now. We need to act now. We need to act in time to avert the worst climate disaster that can happen to mankind. And today is Climate Emergency Day, meaning there is an emergency for every one of us to act individually, as a group, as a government, as a policymaker, as a businessman. We need to act, and need to act now. I'm going to pass over the microphone to my friend, who I call Mr. Climate, Olumide, Mr. Olumide Idowu. He has been doing a lot in climate change in Nigeria, right from, I can say, for over 10 years now. We've started this journey right from our university days, and he has carried on that Burton, and I would like him to talk briefly about what his organization is doing around climate change. Please, Mr. Olumide, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Basically, my name is Olumide Idowu, popularly known as Mr. Climate. I work for International Climate Change Development Initiative. Basically, what our plan is to build a climate smart generation. We talk about the climate, we talk about we start taking a sustainable action that will build an investment opportunity for young people across the globe, let me say across Africa as well. So the issue now we are facing now is our community and our local driven community need to understand the urgency of climate action that we are talking about. If you look at Nigeria as a case study, you will see that we are facing a security encroachment. If you look at South the Southwest. So what we're talking about now is how can young people, or as in the society, government, media, to see how we can tell stories of what is happening in our community. So in my organization, we've been working around advocacy, campaign, and to see how we can drive community intervention. And with what my friend Chooks have said, it is high time for us to act now. There is an adage that tells us that when two elephants are fighting, it's the grass that suffers. It's meaning that we are the vulnerable people that are actually suffering from this emergency. We see what is happening across the world. What are the important campaign that we need to raise so that our government can be accounted for of the promises they made on the climate change that they are talking about. And I will end by saying this, that it is also very important for us as people. We know that a couple of months ago, our president signed the Climate Change Act into law. And this is another stepping forward for us as media, as youth, civil society, business expert, that we are working on investment opportunity, to take this opportunity to say, when can we start working on the Climate Act? So it's a climate emergency, and the climate crisis is happening to everybody. Nobody is above this climate emergency, and that's why we say that no one is left behind. Our SDGs, we are looking at 2030. How is it realistic for us as a country? How is it realistic for us as people? And our goal 13 is talking about climate action. What action are we going to be taking individually? So those are key issues that we need to be looking at. So summarize Nigeria in a circle and look at the problem we are facing from your region. So personal intervention is also very, very good for us to start looking at what can I do and what can you do. So to round up my conversation, I will want to say that each and every one of us, it is high time we take climate action very serious. Because in every ministry, in every atmosphere we are, we continue to receive or continue to have this issue of environmental problem. So Climate Emergency Day is a call to action. So let us take responsibility. Thank you very much.
The live is on now. Thank you very much. Mr. Olumide. That was wonderful. So, like you said, it was also simple. All these facts are climate emergency. We have been talking about climate change, climate change. It's important that we sit down, take a resolution, which I'm going to talk about later. Make a resolution on what you are ready to do, the action you're ready to do, to act. So let me quickly pass the mic to the Sustainable Development Ambassador, Mr. Businessman, and actor, and producer.
We see you and welcome. I would say, let me start. Western world. So I as put it upon me to make sure that I use my grant and the opportunity God gave me, my bills, to pass this message across our locality, because that's what SDG to go through. Which is very, very important. As today we need media, we need personality to push, to use social media to send pass the message. And I will make sure I do that in my own level. I will make sure I support climate change organization in Nigeria to make my voice. And I remember 2 hours ago, we're talking with him, the SDG media, and talking on how to push out to use media. Because we were talking behind the stage, we were talking on how to use media to push, because it's only media and personalities, celebrities, that can push and allow people who don't have access to television and all that, for them to hear and know how to go about this. So we're taking upon us to use our voice to push this. I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Usman. As an actor, producer, and entertainer, we saying that we should actually. down to be a green climate independent city. Thank you very much for observing that. So this week we started building activities leading to today, and we had and resolutions from individuals across the world. We had resolutions from government persons, authorities, and I personally took a resolution which I'm going to share with you so that you can actually understand what you need to do for on climate change. So you can go to the Climate Club website, climateclub.world, climateclub.world, and follow on Instagram, climateclub.world. Follow us on local climate club page, climateclub.nigeria on Instagram. So I'm going to read my resolution to us, and I want you to go home, think about a resolution that you can make as well as an individual to advocate for climate change. Mine says, as the climate clock ticks over from 7 years to 6, I will be more active in leading advocacy for climate change in Nigeria. I will engage my local politicians and business decision makers for everyone to act in time for a safe climate future. So, gentlemen of the press, attendees, I challenge you today to make your own resolution, post it on social media with the hashtag my climate resolution, hashtag act in time, hashtag climate emergency day, hashtag climate club. Thank you very much, and if there are questions from the media, we would like to take that for now. Ambassador Kenje, if you are here, please, you have the floor to coordinate the questions. Maybe 5 questions from the media, if any. Thank you. Any questions?
Audience.
Audience, too, you can ask.
Good afternoon. My name is Ellen from TV. Climate change. I don't know how long this organization has been. And number 2 is that are you working with the Federal Ministry of Environment in terms of implementing some of the things that you have as your resolutions? Then 3, are you also recommending to government for strict penalties for those who defraud some of these resolutions?
Okay, I think I'll answer it. Yes, I'll attempt to answer the first question, and then I'll pass over to Olumide. He is very much concerned about that penalty and climate laws. So yes, we are, of course, climate change in Nigeria. The authority for climate actions is Ministry of Environment. Of course, we are working with the Ministry of Environment as our partners, and various bodies. I personally, the non-profits, the Sdgs, is already at collaboration with the Ministry of Environment from the Climate Change Office. So, Lumide, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I want to respond to the issue of penalty. If you look at it very well, from our constitution, from the Climate Change Act, the role of the government is to make policies, and the role of the civil society actually is to complement the effort by, driving local actions. When it comes to penalty, it is not the role of the citizen to enact penalties. It's the role of, if you see some agencies under the ministry, we have NOSRA, NESRA. So their role, when you check their mandates, their role is to go after people that are, causing problem on there. So The only thing we, the civil society, can do, let me say the non-state actors, is to actually look at how we can talk more about those people, forth in the environment, making the environment or Ministry of Environment to understand that a lot of people are causing, issues in the environment. And another thing again I need to raise here is when we talk about climate change, it's not only Ministry of Environment. We have climate smart agriculture, we have Minister of Agriculture, we have energy, we have transportation. So it's high time for us to understand that we don't limit the conversation of environment or climate change to Minister of Environment. And you also remember one of the biggest actors when it comes to MDAs is Minister of Finance. Because you cannot be talking about climate finance, you cannot be talking about funding, and Minister of Finance will not be part of those. So I would just say that for issue of penalty, as a civil society, our role is to make sure that we report such people to the respective ministry. We cannot make any. Let me give you an example of Lagos State, for example. If you look at Loma in Lagos, I'm not a Loma staff, but when I see something that is not right in my community, it is my responsibility to report to Loma on what is going on, even LASEPA that works with the Environmental Protection Agency. So I think that is the normal process of way to support the government in making sure that they put laws and penalties in place. I think I've been able to answer that. Okay, somebody else.
Alright, one greeting everyone. Again, I applaud this initiative and the team for putting this together. My name is David Arinze, and my question is this. Youths are the center of everything that would lead to lasting change. And what is Climate Club Nigeria, and even by extension Climate Club World, doing to ensure that the youth are the center of this conversation, that they're leveraging the creativity, the resilience, the intelligence, the innovation that comes with the Nigerian youth and youth across the globe. It's just be important for youth to know how they can also engage in this initiative to ensure that while we are recognizing that there is an emergency, but we also need to know how youth across the world can add their quota to hold their governments accountable and to ensure that they begin to take part that are adding towards ensuring that we achieve the goals that are set before us, which are of course huge, but I don't think they're not surmountable. Of course, if the youth are put at the center stage. That's my own. Target draws near. Is there any arrangement for them to build that into their political parties so that those contesting will have at the back of their mind what they are coming in to do? For instance, those who are coming in as legislators at State House Assembly, National Assembly, most of them contesting, they don't know. But if this is built in the political parties, they will be at least the awareness will be made known to them, and they will know what they are canvassing for. Is there any arrangement of that nature?
Thank you very much. So let me answer the first question before that. Then I can pass the mic to him. Go to take the second question. Youth engagement. I'm so happy and glad that you asked that question. So currently, as we speak, we have developed a portal for a Pan-African portal for African youth, Nigerian youths to engage for climate change advocacy. That portal is going to be launched next week on the Climate Club Nigeria website. So the idea is this: we've targeted youth, millennials, Gen Z, to engage properly on climate change, because we're talking about the future, and the youth are the future generation, and we want to be able to capture them and engage the youth in all for us to be able to drive in awareness and advocacy, and that extends to what they do. So we say music, movies, sports, technology, art. So we're saying, come together, let us all drive awareness for this message that we're talking about. So yes, youth inclusiveness is very key, and we are already working on that. Thank you very much. So please just look out for the launch date for the platform. Second question.
Okay, let me quickly respond to that question. Basically, I think one of the things that civil society need to do ahead of, based on the people that are contesting or going for one political party. We have the Climate Change Act now. That is very, very key and important. And you remember as well that we're supposed to be having a Climate Change Council that will be like a central conversation on climate action in Nigeria. And that is why I mentioned that when we're having this such conversation, most of these political leaders are not environment inclined. Some of them don't even understand what this environment is talking about. So I think one of the ways that we, civil society organizations, can continue to engage these political parties or individuals that are contesting is to engage them through the Climate Change Act. Because if any of us have taken or looked through this Climate Change Act, we've been able to understand that it has actually shown us the roadmap and the pathway to how we can solve environmental problem in Nigeria. And if you look at the Climate Council they want to set up, it's part of, even people living with disabilities also acting for position. And everybody needs to be part of it. So we need to push the government, whether it's the present or the incoming, to make sure that the Climate Change Act is almost 8 months now, and nothing is happening. Then on the other end, like I mentioned, we still need to understand that climate change or environmental issues is not the only problem we are facing as a country. We also have some other related issues. So how can we also leverage on those issues to speak on the climate action? Because when you look at them, food security, you look at security itself, issue in the country, it also comprises of what we need. So when we are engaging them, let us use the Climate Change Act to engage them so that they'll be able to know that yes, there is a bill that's been passed by the president. And also let me end by saying that we also have the nationally determined contribution, and we have 7 sectors. So how can we push them to look at those sectors and flesh out their manifesto to see how we the people can say, okay, if you can solve this and this and this, then we'll be able to say, okay, you are the right person for us. But the bottom line is, we have some acts, we have some law that have been passed, and we have some commitment they've made on our behalf in international conferences. How can we use that to engage the political leaders that are coming on board? Thank you very much.
Okay, state press.
My name is Godson. I'm reporting for State Press. I want to ask the great question on the issue of certification. The great dissertation has forced thousands of land headers to move to the south and even though they need to clash with the crop farmers. Completely in death of persons. What are the prospective programs in place for the climate initiative?
I didn't get your question very well.
So let me respond to it. So in other words, Climate Club, like he said, there's going to be a portal that will be launching very soon. So be on the watch for that. But to respond to the issue of degradation, desertification, I can tell you is a fact that there is a $700 million. You can Google it online by World Bank. That's going to be, it's going to be used for deforestation and degradation. But the plan is, how can you and I, as a journalist, as a civil society, to push for transparency and accountability so that the money will reach the right people at the right time. This project is starting very soon. It was just being approved in June last month. So the issue of desertification and degradation, desertification is a very broad issue. And if you look at it very well, when I started, I mentioned when we want to solve a problem in Nigeria, let us look at it in regional phase, because we have some states or region that the problem they are facing when it comes to climate issue is different from what other states are facing. So from the southwest, I talk about sea level rise, flooding, and we still have close to 220 something million people that stays in Lagos as population. So, and we are facing flooding and we are facing sea level rise. So when you are solving problem from that angle, you'll be looking at some, talking about disaster risk reduction. You'll be looking at intervention in that area. But when you look at the northern part of the country, security issues, desertification, and please let us try to look at the Great Green Wall project. Our president is the president of Great Green Wall. So what are the programs and projects that can we look into that is presently going on now that can solve those issues? So the issue of that is, I said $700 million is on board for that project now. And it was even announced 2 days ago. Thank you.
One last question.
No, two.
Okay.
My name is Progress. I work for Sony. So considering that we are counting down 7 years until it's no longer possible to maintain global warming of less than 1.5 degrees Celsius, and we know Nigeria and Africa at large is at the receiving end more than most of the developing countries. Do you think our leaders, as African leaders and the world leaders at large, are doing enough? And then if they are not, what other steps do you recommend they take to ensure we avert the disaster?
Thank you. So if they are doing enough, we won't be here today. That's one thing you need to know, right? Meaning the work is done or is almost done. Now, one of the basic tenets of the United Nations through the Sdgs is domestication of the Sustainable Development Goals and localizing them in all the countries. And by so doing, country leaders have pledged to adopt the Sdgs by virtue of their engagement with the United Nations, right? So the message has always been, in your country, there is a need for you to not just advocate for the SDGs, but to implement the basic tenets of SDGs, which include, of course, climate change. So involvement of the government has been a very, very key factor. It has been a challenge, I must say. You know, Pan-African leaders, not just the leaders, a lot of Africans still do not understand the basic concepts of the SDGs and climate change. A lot of people don't know why they need to stop burning fossils. A lot of people don't know why they need to divert to renewable energy. Do you understand? So that is why we are still talking here today, saying, look, there should be an active inclusion of the government in advocating for climate change in Nigeria. Nigeria has been on the forefront of that. I must commend the Office of the Senior Special Advisor to the President on SDGs or SAP SDGs, Adefurule, you know, Princess Adefurule. Yes, they have been that office has been very, very key and active in ensuring that. But a lot of work still needs to be done, entirely specifically from the Ministry of Environment and Office of the Climate Change Director, as it is. So the advocacy continues. It is not enough. So what we are doing today, climate clock, don't forget, we are simply using a tool of a clock to remind us that the time to act is now. If we don't act now, we're going to be in problems. We might not have an environment or a world to live for our future generations, or even for all of us here, because I know we are youths. So the clock is a tool that reminds us that the time to act is now. So I challenge you out there to go ahead, use your own words, use your tools, use your art to create awareness, advocacy for climate change, and let there be action, please. One of the basic tenets of the UN is performance and action, not just talking every time, but action. Take action today. Protect your environment in the little way that you can. And in the absence, any other more questions or want to wrap up?
No,
One more question, then I will wrap up, please. Lady.
Abuja Press.
Abuja Press, okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Imran Onalo. The eastern part of the country has been struck by different illness, and the erosion has devastated so many settlements and farmland. So, what could be done to resolve this narrative? What could be done to resolve this narrative?
Olumide spoke about that before. Erosion and environmental actions, right?
The eastern part of the country has been struck by different illness, and erosion has devastated so many farmland, leading to poverty. What could be done to resolve this narrative?
Okay, so let me just respond to that in a very simple way,
Yeah.
like a story. You know, the issue we are facing in the eastern part of the country, let me call it, is like a disaster that is happening to every other region. But when it comes to the eastern part of the country, I think the much responsibility falls on the civil society, because we are comprised of government as well. So I think what we need to start doing now is to make our case more clear and simple to the government, because I'm not speaking for the government. I'm just trying to let us to understand that when there's erosion, let us ask ourselves, what is the role of the land grabbers, the people that claim that they are owner of the land, and they continue to have issues with the government, fighting each other. And why they are doing that is because the government are failing its responsibility to put maximum support for erosion issue in the community. From the eastern part of the country as well, I know there is an agency, I may not be able to grab the name, that is in charge of erosion. I just mentioned something from Lagos now. I know of Loma, I know of Nema, I know of Lasepa. But when it comes to the eastern part of the country, I think there must be a very firm relationship from the civil society in demanding from those agencies what they want to see to change in the community. So urgent action in communication is very, very key. And also monitoring and evaluation is also very important. When the government say they are doing this or they want to make this intervention, how do we civil society react to those intervention? Because there's no money anywhere again. It is the one you have in your state that we use to drive this conversation. I mentioned $700 million. Where's the money coming from? Is the money given to they call it borrow. That's from the World Bank. So this money, how is this money going to get to your state, to my state, to solve erosion or a disaster problem? Is what we civil society need to start looking at, to track now. And let me end by saying, as a civil society, it's high time for us to be well informed of what is going on in our environment. If we really want to make the government accountable for what they need to do for us. So erosion is deadly, is killing, most especially taking a lot of how will I put it? People's property, livelihood away. So it's very important that we start looking at how we can restore back our nature. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. At this juncture, we want to call it a wrap for today's press conference. We want to specifically thank everyone that has attended here today, and the media. Please, the media is very key to what we're doing today. You're here today because you want to understand what we're doing, and we have sent a message across, and we would please love you to carry on that message to create awareness for climate change in Nigeria. Today is Climate Emergency Day, July 22nd. We officially count down, and that is what the Climate Club is doing in real time, counting down from 7 years. Thank you very much, gentlemen of the press. They just said it.